All right, so let me just close this and get waiting room things open here. So I just want to introduce myself. My name is Jen Wans, and I'm the RILA District Chair. And then my co-partner in crime, Cindy.
I put my hand somewhere. Here we go. I'm Cindy Dooling. I'm the Youth Exchange Officer for District 5500.
So before we get started, we thought it would be a good idea to just hear kind of from everybody in the room, you know, where you are, if you're in your youth exchange program at your club, if you're interested in, if you're the youth services director, if you do an Interact club, any of that stuff. So I'm just going to shout out names around the room and have everybody just kind of share a little bit, if you wouldn't mind. So Cassia, you're the first one I see.
Hi, yes, I am with Tucson Verde. I am actually the chair of the Public Information Committee, and I am not involved with the youth programs, but I feel that it's something that I'd like to know more about, and because I am public information, and I think it's you know, having a better understanding of it would help me do my job.
Thank you.
Great. Next on my little tiles, I see John's iPhone 7, but John doesn't look like a John to me. I'm not sure. Oh, you're muted. Here, let me see. I can't. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can. Great.
I'm using my husband's phone because I couldn't get mine to work. So he's letting me use his. Youth services, yes, we do have an Interact club in San Manuel, and I'll get more into it as the year goes on next year. Youth exchange programs, when I was in another club, we did have an exchange student once. And this is the first time I'll be in youth services, but I have a lot of good plans coming up for the Copper Corridor.
Great.
And Monica is with Saddlebrook Rotary Club.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, I have Jennifer.
So I'm with the Two-Back Rotary Club, and I am their media chair. However, on several projects I ran last year, I had the opportunity to work with the Interact students at Rio Rico High School, and I loved it. And I want to know how I can become involved with RILA. But I'm a fairly new Rotarian, so I'm just here to learn.
Great, thank you. I will be sure to tell you all about RILA and how you can get involved. Ron Dara?
Yeah. That's close. That's actually pronounced Dara, depending on which family group you're from. I'm Ron Dara, and I am the incoming president of the Valle Verde Rotary Club. We have been doing Interact for several years now, and our Interact program is not specific to one school. We have an Interact program that takes in I believe it's about 3 schools and homeschool. I think there's a term for that, but I can't remember what it is. And we love our interactors. We love RILA. We send kids to RILA every year. We send counselors to RILA every year. This is a wonderful program. And during my year, I really want to emphasize Interact and getting these wonderful young people started in Rotary.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ron. All right, next on my little tile is Audrey.
Hello, I'm from Catalina Rotary, and we have an Interact and a Rotaract that is kind of struggling. We're trying to get that one boosted. And we typically do have, I don't want to call them students, but young high schoolers go to RILA. And this year, my goal is to get some counselors for RILA from our group. So
I would love that. That's awesome. Thank you. All right, Jerry.
Good morning. I'm Jerry Stabley, and I'm with the Casa Grande Lunchtime Club. And the reason I joined today was because we are very involved in the AARP Experience Corps third grade reading program here in our chapter. And we are looking to expand this program to probably about 80% of the population of the county as early as perhaps next year. And so we're very, very involved in youth in that way. And also wanted to learn, I don't know what RILA means. And I know the Breakfast Club here in Casa Grande does youth exchange, but we don't do Rotaract or Interact either. So I'm anxious to learn more about all those.
Great, thank you. Wendy?
I'm with Saddlebrook Rotary Club, and we have an Interact program at San Manuel with a tremendous member leader of that group. And they help us with our golf tournament. They schlep bags for us. We have, we send at least 3 youth to RILA every year, and we have a couple of, well, Lisa Rosetto was one of the adult people there from our club this year. It's a great program. We were supposed to have a junior counselor there this year, but he ended up in the hospital and didn't get to do it, and he was very disappointed. Hopes he can do it next year. So we're just into, well, we live in a retirement community, so we obviously can't have a teenager live with us for the youth exchange, but we have before COVID gone together with the Oro Valley Rotary Club and helped them sponsor students. So, and I think that'd be something we might be interested in doing again.
Thank you.
Great. Jean or Jeannie? You're muted.
I'm Jeannie Zita. I'm in the Tucson Rotary Club. I'm the Youth Exchange Officer in our club, and I'm also on the District Rotary Youth Exchange Committee as the Database Administrator. And it's really exciting that this year we have both an inbound student from Spain that has been with us this year, and next year we'll have a boy going from Tucson to Japan and a girl from Japan coming here. We're still looking for additional host families in our area. If anybody in another club would like to help work with us on that, it's a very exciting program. And our club sponsors an Interact club at Amphitheater High School. It took a year off this year, but it will be going again next year. And we sent 3 students to RILA, and they all came back so positive about the experience. So I'm not the youth services chair. I'm the youth exchange officer and the service projects chair on my club.
Great, thank you. Next is Reba.
Yes, I'm Reba Weber with the Mountain Empire Rotary. To date, many years ago, I guess the club was much larger and was more involved in youth programs. But to date, it's a smaller club now, and RILA has been really our only interaction. And I'm the secretary for the club, but I decided to represent our club here in this session because I'd like to know more about how we can engage the youth in different programs in our area. We do send students to RILA. We've had junior counselors. We have counselors. We think it's a fabulous program, but I think there's more that we can do with the youth in our area. So that's why I wanted to attend the session.
Awesome, thank you. Next on my screen is 15204.
Hi there, I'm Kathy Dean, and I'm from Valle Verde, and I'm president nominee, so I will be president in 2025. And I just joined Rotary for the very first time in August. So all of this is very, very new, and I'm absorbing everything I possibly can. So I'm here to listen and learn.
Great, welcome, thank you. Amos and Charlene. Can you hear me? Is it Charlene? Oh, there.
Both Amos and Charlene are on, but on different devices.
Okay.
We moved here to the area not quite 3 years ago, so we are in actually two different Rotary clubs. I'll speak for Dove Mountain Club. I'm sure there's somebody else on from Dove Mountain, but the RILA program in Hawaii, where we lived, was exceptional. So I'm interested in learning more about RILA, what RILA does here in 5500.
Great, thank you. And then I see Mary next on my screen.
Hi, my name is Mary and I'm with the Rotary Club of Marana. Our club has a really long history with youth exchange until it took its hiatus, and we're lucky enough now to have Cindy Dooling in our club, who has been a champion, and we're extraordinarily impressed, and we're excited to get going with youth exchange again. We have an outgoing youth exchange student to Spain, and we are also looking for, at this point, for host families for our incoming youth exchange from Spain. We also send kids to RILA each year, usually only one, maybe two when we have a youth on board. And I am curious about just to see if there's any changes in requirements for the youth exchange, and just to hear new information.
Great, thank you. Joe Pewitt.
Yeah, hi, Jen. I'm Joe Pewitt with the Rotary Club of Sierra Vista. Our club does not have an Interact or Rotaract club, but we do support the Jen's Club, the Sierra Vista Sunrise Club, which sponsors those. Our club does, though, support RILA every year with both delegates and junior counselors. We do a Student of the Month kind of thing, and we do support youth exchanges. Matter of fact, we have an outbound student now, but don't currently have an inbound student. That person got canceled. But again, always interested in hearing new thoughts about youth programs. Thanks.
Thank you. And then the last one that I think needs to be is Angelica.
Yeah, hi. I'm from Valle Verde Rotary Club. So we've already heard from Ron and Kathy, but I do want to say that when our Interact group went to RILA, we got one junior counselor, and then I think we had 4 of our Interactors actually end up going, and they had a fantastic time. They could not stop talking about it. And so I'm here to learn more about Interact and what I can do, being a part of Interact. And then I'm also here just to learn what I can.
Great, thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit about Interact and RILA, and then Cindy's going to talk about youth exchange. I have experience with youth exchange. We've also done inbound and outbound folks for our club as well. So Interact, is the high school version of Rotary, basically. These are pictures of some of my older students that we've had. Those are the Interact sashes that they wear at graduation. So that was right before they left for college. Interact is housed at my Interact club. You heard that somebody else had one that was a community Interact club. Mine is actually based in a specific high school at Buena High School here in Sierra Vista. Challenges and opportunities with Interact clubs. Challenges sometimes can be finding a faculty advisor at the high school that can help you reach out and get that school support in order to have an Interact club on campus. We meet every single week on Tuesdays. So right after school, the students come over. We have ebbs and flows and how often students come because of sports or things like that. But I get them my Interact club is 36 students strong right now. So we have a pretty active club. It is an opportunity for the Sierra Vista Sunrise Club to have volunteers for our projects. So we have them help with our roadside cleanups, with our grant project as long as they're allowed to. Like right now they can't because they're under 18 and where we're doing our project, they can't go, but we've had them at all kinds of projects in the past. They've helped with the building a bathroom at our Cantor, which is our local equestrian organization in town. And we hope that they then become involved in Rotaract and then become involved in Rotary when they get older. So that's why Interact is such a great way to get students involved in service, because they're your future Rotary members. We also have our Rotaract or Interact students participate in RILA and in Youth Exchange. And so right now, Amelia, who Joe was talking about, was one of my Interact students. That's an outbound student. She's in Taiwan. So we are a base for students that want to get involved in Youth Exchange. Does anybody have any questions about Interact before I go on? I want to make sure. Yeah.
Does a member of your club attend weekly also, or?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's my role. I'm the youth services director at my club, and I go every week and I work with the faculty advisor, and we kind of help the students, and we advise them on how they can do their elections, and we just ask them about their service projects. My Rotary Club likes the Interact Club to do a service project every year. So we try to do a service project at the high school. And right now we're working on a service project too. They have like a memory walk. And so we're working with them to do that. And so I use my projects guy to help me with that, because I don't know how to do the service project. So like when we did the 4-way test competition for my club, I had Rotary members come in and be the judges that day. So they're very involved. And then when we do bowling, we invite them to bowling, and we try to incorporate Rotary as much as possible in the Interact Club.
Jen, Joe Pewitt here. How do you handle finances? Do they have their own budget, or does your club provide them financing? How does that work? There's
2 ways. So our Rotary Club has a budget line for Rotaract and Interact. Our Rotaract Club right now is on hiatus, defunct. It didn't jump back after COVID. So we're hoping in the fall we'll be able to fix that. But yes, we have a line. They have their own budget line for service project with my Rotary Club that we give them funding for. And then they have one to pay for like their sashes and any project that they're doing. Like we helped with their homecoming. They had like a booth. And so we paid for like prizes for the booth. But the students also fundraise. They'll do things throughout the year to fundraise for the club, to help pay for shirts and things like that. We do the tax credit with our high school. So, you can donate $500 or $800 if you file married, and you can donate that money to the Interact Club, and it's a tax credit for you with the state. And so we get a lot of money to help pay for RILA that way, because we send a lot of students to RILA if we can. It's like, I think we sent 6 last year. And then that money helps support that. And then the students also have to pay dues, $5 a semester. And that money is collected by the treasurer, and it teaches them, about financing and all that stuff. So we go through all of those budgets at the beginning of every year. So a couple different ways. Any other questions about Interact? All right. Wait, did I go? Sorry, I went too far. Okay, I got to move a screen. Hold on. There we go. All right. So RILA is a leadership camp that we do as a district up in Prescott, Arizona at Chapel Rock, which is a beautiful camp that has, and it's not like when we say it's a campground, they have like heated bunks and a beautiful mess hall and this gorgeous room that we do all of our training in. So it's not like camping. And it's in January. It's always on Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. Have to take off. Luther King Jr. weekend, and they have to take off. I'm just gonna mute. Oh, sorry. Okay. Too many screens I'm trying to control, sorry. Cost is free to the student. They have to take off that Friday of school, unless the school has that off for some reason. But my students normally have to take off Friday and then they come back on Monday. So we leave really early in the morning on Friday and come back on Monday. The cost is free to the students, but the clubs sponsor the students. And this year, the cost for each student to attend is going to be $500. It's very expensive to get the buses, and it's very expensive to stay at Chapel Rock. I mean, it's not very expensive, but it gets expensive, you know, and then we give them sweatshirts and they have leadership journals and things that they work on. And so all of that costs money to put together. We have 96 delegates and 12 junior counselors, JCs. We also have what we call super JCs. They help the admin team set up the snacks, set up the activity that the students are going to be going to next. So those super JCs are junior counselors that are very high energy. They need to be, you know, getting the students all pumped up for whatever activity they're doing next. They run the talent show, they run the dance, they come up with the stuff for the dance. So those students are really critical to the success of our admin team, because I can't run from one end of Chapel Rock to the other anymore. And then we get 12 adult advisors, which are usually Rotary members. Every once in a while, we'll get somebody that is sponsored by a Rotary club that's like a teacher or something. And then there's about 5 to 7 of us that run the admin team, and we start planning RILA in July for the next January. And then we take like right now, we're on a couple months break. Students can attend as a delegate or a junior counselor. Students that want to be as junior counselors, though, we prefer that they already have attended RILA once as a delegate, so they kind of understand how the weekend works. And then they can be a junior counselor their second year. We typically don't like delegates to attend multiple years as a delegate. We want to give an opportunity for students that have never participated in RILA before to attend. And then the adult advisors, they don't run the group. Their job is to help the junior counselor if the junior counselor needs help. The junior counselors are the actual leaders. It is a student-led program. So every activity, the junior counselor will pull out like the rules of what they have to do, ask the questions about, you know, for reflection and all that stuff. The junior counselors get them from one place to the other where they need to be. They're in charge. They're actually the one that have the most work that weekend. This is like our typical Friday schedule. Buses start picking students up in Benson at 5 a.m. And they pick students up from Benson, Yuma, Tucson, and we go all over Southern Arizona and drive students up to Prescott. And we do team building activities when they arrive. They do some personality trait training so that they can, it's not Myers-Briggs, but it's like the same kind of concept. I mean, if you've heard of these personality trait things, it just helps them kind of understand, you know, how they work with others and how others can work with them. And then we eat a lot up there. Chapel Rock feeds us really well. And then we do leadership framework training. And so the framework that we used this past year was the Leadership Challenge by Dr. Barry Posner and James Cruz. And Dr. Barry Posner actually works really closely with the Rotary clubs in California and helps them with their RILA camp up there every single year. So he has 2 different frameworks. He uses the Student Leadership Challenge, and then he has a regular leadership challenge that can be used for adults in professional workspace. And he has 5 different practices that he encourages good leaders to use. And so we talk about those 5 practices in different sessions throughout the weekend. On Saturday, the students do the high and low ropes challenge course. They do public speaking and ethics and decision making. We do more leadership modules, and then they have a talent show. And the talents of our youth in this district are phenomenal. I mean, we have such a great time. We had this student this year. He went to go do the high ropes course, and he was really upset about it. Like he couldn't even watch the people do it. He got so nervous. And so he came into the hall where I was doing ethics and decision making, and I sat him down. I was like, don't worry, you don't have to be out there. You can stay in here and we'll get you all excited about something in here. And then he was like, okay. So he helped. And then later on that night, because he wanted to go home, he was like, I want you to call my dad. I want to go home. And I was like, well, let's just wait and see, because if it's just the high ropes course that you're upset about, like, let's go through a couple other modules and see how you're doing. By the end of the night, he was singing and dancing, and people were cheering and screaming for him at the talent show. It was amazing. He was.
I have to comment on that too, because that was one of our RILA people that we sent from Saddlebrook. And he and another person that went to RILA came and spoke to our club and showed us that clip of him singing and everybody cheering. And his dad came to our meeting too. And they were just so thrilled, because here he'd wanted to go home and he ended up with such a wonderful experience.
Yeah, he really came out of his shell. He was phenomenal. I hope he comes back as a junior counselor next year. He would be so good, because it just helps the students see that, even though you might have this one struggle, to not give up, to keep trying. He was great. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that, Wendy. Sunday, so we got snow up at Chapel Rock, and so we usually do a kickball tournament and a hike, but we couldn't because it was muddy. And so they had a snowball fight for a little bit, built a little snowman and stuff, and we found some other things for the students to do. But one of the other things that we do throughout the weekend is what we call the Mission Challenge Project. And so the students are given an opportunity prior to coming up to choose one of the 7 Rotary areas of focus that they'd be interested in planning a project on. And throughout the weekend, we put them in a different group than their normal group, and they have to work out how to create a service project that meets a need based on one of the areas of focus for Rotary. And then they give presentations on it the last day. And we've had some really phenomenal stuff come out of there, food pantry ideas and how to communicate maternal and child health stuff. And I mean, just really, really great projects with these students. I mean, it's just wonderful to see how much they're willing to give to, make a difference in their community. And then that's the night of the dance. And so we have a big dance, we clear out the room, and the student line dancing is huge. The students loved it. They had a great time. And then on Monday, we usually do our group photo. So this is the photo from last year. All of the the delegates are in blue. The junior counselors are in red, and then the adult advisors are in green, and the admin team is in the tie-dye. So it's quite a fun bunch. We have a great time. And one of the other things that we do that weekend is we take away their phones. So on Friday, when they arrive, they have to put their phones in a Ziploc bag, and they cannot use them the whole weekend. We lock them up in the cabins, and they get their phones back on Monday. And I know that they grumble a lot about getting their phones taken away, but they do not mind. On Monday, when they get them back, they just put the numbers in, they'll take pictures. They're not looking at social media. They're not doing any of that stuff. They've made new friends, long-lasting relationships, and realize the importance of, communication and meeting each other face to face. So it's a really great experience for them. And then they head home. That's it. I mean, does anybody have any questions about RILA before we get into youth exchange?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah. Jen. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Hi. Yes. Hi, Jen. Hi. This is Fatima. I'm talking from Yuma, Arizona, and I belong to Yuma Crossing Rotary. I'm right now the assistant governor, and I've been in the education field for more than 45 years, and I really appreciate what you do, and how you motivate the generation that's to come. They do a fantastic job. But there was something that I would like to ask you, because you're professional in this field. The first thing is, I was very much interested in being a part of this, but the only hurdle I have is, being there for 3 or 4 days. Like, I wanted to just give a slice of things that I would like to share. Is there a way that I could, be there and give, motivate, like when you are planning the whole agenda for that trip, if I could share with you or be a part of that only that, because I will not be able to stay for so many days. That's number one. And number two, like what you said, is the students, they carry the message home. I just wanted to know, would it be possible if we could have more students in this, without, for sometimes it becomes very difficult for our clubs to get like 3 or 4 people, because it's about 500 each. So is there another way where like we could get some more students involved in this? And then this way, if they could carry home with them, like when they go, they have to say, okay, now this is, when I go back to my school, this is the message I'm going to carry, not to the community, but to my peers. Because even today in the field of education, I feel as a teacher, I have lost my step. Because okay, there are certain things that I feel that we have to instill in our students, and motivating students are the best teachers. We as teachers are not able to, because then they are both on the same level. So if there's something that we could, if the kids could say, okay, this is when I go back to school, I'm going to go with this, with this goal in my, spread this word around, not only to my few peers, but to my whole level, like the 10th graders or 9th graders. So with that, the others are inspired to carry on the message. Is there a possibility?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sorry, I gotta mute you. It echoes really badly, sorry. So in answer to your first question, yes, I will have my contact information on the last slide, and please feel free to email me and we can get you involved in the planning committee throughout the couple of months. And then even if you just want to come up for one day and you're going to do one session, like you want to do the ethics and decision-making session on Saturday, and that's the only thing you're going to come up and do, we can make that happen. So we've had people come up just to do specific things and then leave that day. So there's a couple different ways we can get you involved. And then in answer to your second question, we definitely encourage the students to go back to their schools and talk about their leadership camp experience. It's easier. My club, we have an interact, right? So we have an audience already. Those students come back and they talk about their experience to those other students, and then they share the message there, and then it's spread throughout their teams that they're involved with and all of that stuff. But we also encourage those students to come to Rotary Club. So if you are a Rotary Club that sponsors students that go to RILA, to please invite them to come to your meeting and share what happened at RILA at your meeting. But we can make more of a focus and try to come up with other ideas. We do give them information about how they can make a difference in their community. They do get long sheets of different service projects they can get involved with and organizations that do stuff, and how they can get involved in a Rotaract club when they go to college and all that stuff. So we share that information with them when they're at RILA, and we do a session on youth service or youth exchange too. And the youth exchange students are required to attend RILA, and they give a presentation about what their experience is like. So we try to do it all encompassing while we're doing it. Does that answer your question?
Is there grant money available through the district for clubs that may not have as much money to send kids to RILA? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I don't know if the grant money could be used for that, or if it has to be used for a service project. I think it depends. I know that we do a fundraiser to pay for our students to go to RILA, and we encourage our members to donate to the Interact Club as a tax incentive, and that helps because then we can tap into that money. But I don't know, Joe, do you have any information about grant?
Yeah, so district grant policy prohibits the use of grant money for doing things that we do on a routine basis that have other funding streams, and this would be considered that. So no, you can't use district funds or district grant funds for this.
Do I have any other?
Yeah, Jen.
Yes.
Are you there? The other question I have is, is it compulsory to or mandatory to have an interact program only in public schools? Can we have that in a like a private school, like a Catholic
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, there's nothing like that.
Yeah, you can have
Yeah,
it
you can have
in
it
a community, you can have it in a private school. You just have to work with that school and the school districts, if it's a district, to talk to them about it, what it is, and then have them commit to allowing you to do it. I get to do it in my faculty advisor's classroom every day after school, or every Tuesday after school. So I have that relationship with them. But I want to make sure we have enough time for Cindy to talk about youth exchange. So I'm going to pause for a second to make sure that Cindy can do her part of the presentation. And then if there's additional questions, you'll have my contact information and you can email me. Thank you. Cindy, you're muted.
Yes, I am. Thank you. And you might have to be the one to move me slide to slide as we move on here, since you're driving this today. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. I'm Cindy Dooling. I'm the Youth Exchange Officer, and I'm so glad that Jeannie Zita could join us today as well as our database administrator. She's been pivotal in helping us recreate this and get Youth Exchange back on track after the COVID years. We are very happy to announce, that we do have 3 outbound students this year, one in Denmark, one in Belgium, and one in Thailand. So that they're very exciting to see that. And then we have the 3 inbound students, one from Spain, one from Denmark, and one from Poland. So spread throughout our district. We'll have 4 next year. One is going to Estonia, one to Belgium, one to Japan, and one to which country didn't I mention? Estonia, Belgium, Spain, and Japan were the 4 outbound for next year. So we're little by little, we're getting that going. The other thing we'll talk a little bit more about is the short-term exchange. First time ever, we're doing a short-term program this year. So we've got one pilot, I call her our pioneer. So what is Youth Exchange? As our motto is, we build peace one student at a time. So they are in the long-term and the short-term programs. Students need to be between the ages of 15 and 18 and a half when they leave the United States for the long-term program. And the short-term program range in ages from 15 to 26. That's the next. And there, we are governed by different organizations. So we are a part of the thing called SCRI, the South Central Rotary Youth Exchange. We're that blue section in the map of the United States that has dips up into Canada as well. So this is a multi-district group that for youth exchange, and they kind of set some parameters for us, but help keep us the guidelines that we need. The Department of State sends out, Rotary International stands out, Council on Standards for International Education, and the North American Youth Exchange Network, or NIAN. These organizations set guidelines for us, but also we have training that we go through and the regulations that surround the parameters that surround our program. So the long-term program are high school students in good standing. So all the students as well as their parents are interviewed to ensure that they can be ambassadors for their country as well as Rotary in the community. So we're looking for those outgoing students who can represent us very well and have good academics as well. They would attend a host country for an entire academic year. And we encourage them to learn the language before they go. That will help them learn the culture of that host country before they get there as well. So we give them some tips and tools on how to get on top of learning that language prior to arriving in their host country. Next one. So the short term, also known as STEP, there are 2 different types of programs. One is the family to family, and the other one are camps. Camps are tours. In the family to family, that is, a student would apply and go during their summer break to live with another family for 2 weeks to a month or 6 weeks. And then the student that they are staying with would come over here and stay with that student's family for the same period, for 2 weeks to 6 weeks, whatever works best for those families. Then they just treat them as a daughter or a son, try to get them to see the different attractions in Southern Arizona or Southern California, but just take them around and introduce them to life in the United States and life in a family. The other difference too with the long-term, the students go to 2 to 4 families, and that's so that they see that not the family that they're with is not the typical American family, because we know there is no typical American family. They're all very, very different. So in the camps or tours, these are country tours. They can be involved in sports like tennis or kayaking or mountain biking. They would go throughout the country mountain biking. They are historical or cultural in nature. They can be anywhere from 1 week to 2 to 3 weeks. Camps are also about technology, renewable energy, a variety of science programs that get offered in these countries, about wildlife and nature. So most of what we've seen are in Europe, but they're also in Asia, and we're branching out. Like I said, this is our very first time to offer a short-term program. Next slide, please. So the long-term program costs the families around $7,000. This includes orientation materials, the round-trip transportation, so their flight to and from their host country, the health insurance, which can be $800 and $900, their visa, it's a criminal background check, and the enrollment fees. Those organizations that I mentioned in the beginning, we pay a participation fee to them based on the number of students that are enrolled in either long-term or short-term. The criminal background checks are on any adult in the household that's 18 and above. So if there is a brother or sister in the home that is 18, 19, 20, they would require a criminal background check. And because we encourage 2 to 4 families, you can see that that would mount up. And that is for the students in our country and for their host families as well. They all go through these same kind of criminal background checks. Next slide. A short term is much less costly. So around $500 to cover these same fees, again, to these organizations that we pay participation fees to, some orientation materials, and these criminal background checks as well. The families then would pay for the airfare and any spending money. Because it's a short-term program, they don't need a visa. They're not going to school over there, so there are less restrictions and less conditions on that, on the participation. Same thing with the camps or tours. The families would purchase the airfare. The camp participation fee, so that can be free to several $100s depending on the camp and the length of the camp. And any spending money the student might want while he or she is away. The host country would provide the ground transportation, housing for these students, their meals, and their entry fees if they're going into different parks or museums. Next slide, please. So the cost to the clubs. So $1,200 is a flat fee that covers orientation materials, some of the mandatory activities that would include things like the district conference and more criminal background checks. We also send the inbound student to RILA and the outbound student who would be going the following year to RILA. There's an inbound student has a monthly stipend of around $100 a month. So guessing for 11 months, that would be $1,100. This would cover things like their cell phone or movies or activities and events that they want to go to with their friends. If they have a special shampoo that they want. So that's what they could pay for out of their monthly stipend. Outbound student materials would include a navy blazer, because they're going to be loading that up with pins and memorabilia from their year abroad, some banners from their club, and a lot of trading pins. Trading pins are very, very popular. I'll show you some examples of those as we get later on. But so around $100 we figure for those costs. And then just estimating $50 for any birthday or gifts that you may want to give to your student. Next slide. So who's on our district committee? District Youth Exchange Officer, again, that's me. We have an inbound coordinator, which is Cassie Kenna, who is the president of the Casa Grande Daybreak. We have an outbound coordinator who happens to be my husband, John Dooling, and a district database administrator who is Jeannie Zita, who's also part of on our presentation today. In addition to that, each club would have a youth exchange officer and a club youth counselor. Next slide. So the club responsibilities, again, is to identify that youth exchange officer and the club counselor. And what are some of their responsibilities? Are to recruit and vet these host families. Again, we recommend 2 to 4 families. They need to visit that home, touch base with that family. There are background checks that are required, but also we need photos, for instance, of the home where the student would be staying. So pictures of the bedroom, pictures of the outside of the house. And then to make another visit to that family home before they move on to the next family. You need a non-Rotarian resource. Examples of that are a school counselor or a teacher. And then we need monthly reports about the student. So we have a database that the students would get in, or these folks would get into. I see that we've got 5 minutes remaining, so I'm going to talk fast. So monthly reports about the student and how they are doing and how they've acclimated to being in the United States. So next slide. Some pictures. Again, you can see the green on the top left. Jeannie Zita's husband actually made these so that the students have something symbolic of our Southern Arizona. On the bottom picture, you'll see the Arizona painted with the colors of the flags with a couple of danglies. One of our outbound students that's going to Estonia has already made 100 of these. She's personally hand painted and decorated these. There's a scribe pin that each of our students receives. And the girl from Poland handmade the feather pin, which has the red and white, which are her national colors. And it's an eagle feather, which is symbolic of her country. We took our 3 inbound students to Biosphere during spring break. And the picture on the far right is a picture of the group that when the Casa Grande had a festival or New Year's Eve gala. So this was a picture of them at their New Year's Eve gala. And you can see the 2 boys are wearing their blazers, and you can see somewhat decorated of their pins and memorabilia. I can tell you that these blazers are much more full of those memorabilia since that time. So we need your help. Anyone that's interested in marketing, social media presence. What we want to do with our 3 inbounds currently is make sure that we get a chance to interview them and put some things up on our website so that we can use those as marketing materials to recruit more students and let them know what Youth Exchange is about and how to prepare for it. If you want to participate and help us with our short-term program, our long-term program, interviewing the students. So we interview each student and their families to make sure that this is a good fit for them and that that's appropriate for them to be going on either the long-term or short-term exchange. If you can help to recruit students from your club area and recruit host families in particular, that seems to be a more difficult thing, is to get host families recruited. If you have time that you want to take students to see some of the highlights in Arizona, up to the Grand Canyon, to Kartchner Caverns, for instance. There are many things, as you know, historical and more of an adventure in Arizona. So we want to make sure that these kids all have an opportunity to take advantage of what we have to offer here in Arizona, Southern California. Also, we need help in our orientation. So when we do have our students in, we have the three have an outbound orientation for all of our outbound students. There's 3 of those, and our inbound students have an orientation as they arrive and get ready. So thank you. And then our very last slide is our contact information. Any questions? I know we're momentarily going to get pulled back, but do you have any questions?
I have a question, and I'm sorry if you've already said this. I just wanted to know, what's the timeline of knowledge of knowing if you have a student going? So does it have to be by December 31st of the prior year?
Actually, our students, the applications will be open soon, and it closes the middle of October so that we can start. The clubs then can interview the students. They'll be notified so that they'll be interviewing the students by late October and early November. We will interview those students and start the placement process and working with our counterparts in these other countries to find a fit for them. So you would know in mid-November anyway, at the very latest.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Jeannie, is there anything I missed?
You did a great job, and I just want to, oh, I'm still muted.
No,
Okay.
we can hear you.
You did a great job, and I just want to add, piggybacking with what was just asked about getting students. We do have some new marketing materials that we would like to make sure we get out to you as clubs that you could distribute through your high schools to let students know about the opportunities that will exist for the 24-25 year, because they will need to apply by the middle of October. And we'll do some Zoom sessions for interested students and their parents in the early fall, that they could learn about the program and ask questions before they apply. But we'll need your help to get the word out through the Interact clubs, through the high schools, about the possibilities, and then be supportive of them when they come to you to see if you will sponsor them. So we'll get that to you soon.
And thanks, Jen, for going through the slides for me, driving through. Thanks, Jeannie.
You bet. We would love to have the program grow back to the levels it used to be. I guess there used to be like sometimes 15 students or so across the district. And it was really quite exciting when we hear from some of the past students who were part of those bigger groups. So let us know if you have questions.
But thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
I guess we're being sent back.
Video the last few years.
I know you have. I know you have. But I'm saying it's nice having this group doing it together.
Keeps turning on the record.
Are we waiting for Leo to open up the rooms?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the rooms to close and then I'll reopen.
We've got 2 minutes before the next one starts. Takes the system a little bit of time to clear everybody out of a 58-person session, I guess.
Leo, I told Linda I'd be a resource for her, but when I got kicked out of Zoom, I lost the co-host. So just FYI.
Oh. You've got it back.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna look at 11 in the treasurer room that says.
I
Okay,
think we all got kicked out.
I think so, but it's still showing people as in them, but I think you're all here. I'm going to go ahead and open the new rooms so people can pick their room.
Good, thank you.
If you have trouble, just let me know and I can assign you to the room.